question about that creator mode though, because they want people to follow, don't they? You've got to have the settings so that you have followers rather than the follow button rather than connect button. Do you think it's all down to the fact that they want people to follow more than connect?
Maybe. I think when you turn on creator mode, it automatically switches connect to follow. So you don't have to toggle it in your account settings. This is what I understand from the documentation. But yeah, I think just the idea that if you're a creator and you produce content, you're probably more interested in growing your following than connections, just a guess. Even though when you connect, you follow, but it's like sometimes creators, they don't want to be besties with all of their followers, because people get weird.
I don't know. I challenge
rocking
that a
it
bit.
Today.
I would challenge that a bit. I think people still want to build up their connections instead of followers. I'd totally rather have connections than followers.
Yeah, I would.
If you're doing sales, if you're Gary Vee,
I think in general people feel that way, not just sales. I think in general, you're more important. The more connections you have, the more important you are. The more you can do, the more followers is relatively limited with what powers you get from that. Just my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's great insight, Mike.
I've set mine to follow because I want to be very specific about who I connect with. So I don't want to connect with just anybody and everybody all the time. Anybody can follow me all they want, but I want to.
You don't have to accept the invitation, Monty. I only accept maybe 1/3 of the invitations that come into me, but it's my choice.
Right, I don't have to accept the invitation, but it's much easier and cleaner in my mind. If you just want to follow me, go ahead. I can still reject the connection, but me rejecting it on a connection is different from just saying follow.
I find I don't get as many bots I've been using the follow button too, mostly to calm the bots down. And if someone follows me who's in my target market, I'll reach out and connect to them. They'll usually still follow me, or they'll send the free in-mails to me to message me first. So I don't think it's really affected me connecting to the people I want to connect by having the follow button. To me, it's calmed most of the bots. Some of them get around it, but and I love with the emoji when I get an invite that's just to my emoji. It's like definitely a bot.
So I have a question for Monty. If follow is the option, is it okay to stalk you?
Only if you do it incognito.
I just wanted to add to that is that I'm going to say, and maybe it's to Mike's thing, probably about 85%, maybe 80% of the invites I get are crap. And they're not my target market, and they're generally pitch slapping about to happen. And, one of the things I've done, like Crystal, you have the emoji, I have the lowercase j, so I can tell right away they're scraping. But I find my strategy is keep it as follow. And then I reach out to people if I see that they've posted something interesting, or if they engage with my content, or if they decide to follow me. And I feel like an outbound strategy for connections is a much more curated form, at least for me as a LinkedIn strategist. Now, for my clients, it's different because we're targeting a certain title and a certain vertical. And so we're doing the outbound to them, which is inbound, I guess. And in that respect, when you're averaging a 30% connection rate, that's a different strategy. So I think the important thing is with your connections is to have a strategy as to how you want to build your network and how you want to use it. And if all else fails, just stalk them, like I do with Monty.
Hey, this is Monty is totally worth stalking. Here, this is a really good bunny trail. Let me ask you all a question I've never thought about before. Does anyone know here if there is, when you connect with someone, you follow them automatically, or you can just straight up follow them? Does anyone know here with definitive, not just a guess, does anyone know definitively here, if you are both connected and following someone, does that make your content more preferred in the news feed versus just following?
No.
Anybody know?
It's the relevancy factor, which has to do with, if you go back to the SSI score, it has to do with your messaging. It has to do with if you're engaging with their content. So I think if you look at those factors, and I'm just saying that because and plus how you have your feed set. Do you have it set as top, which is what LinkedIn thinks, or do you have it set as recent? So, there's all those variables in there, but I think that if you're engaged, like when I start engaging with people, all of a sudden their stuff starts showing up again in my feed. But like, if I'm not engaging with them, it's not showing up, or they're not.
This is the theory that, at least from what I've seen, is that I think if you just follow the person, you're going to be more likely to see their content because you're saying, I want to follow them to see their content. When you connect with someone while they become a follower, I've noticed LinkedIn will show you that person's content, if they're sharing content, almost right away in your news feed, and they're going to use whether or not you engage with their content as a factor in determining, do we continue to show them that person's content. If they don't engage with it, then they kind of I've seen they disappear from my news feed if it's a connection, if I don't engage with it. Whereas if I do engage with it, then I start to get more and more of that person. So I think that while the follow is automatic, I think if you just follow, you're going to be more likely to get that person's content because you're saying, I want to see that content. Whereas the connection's not necessarily saying, I want to see that content.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely.
Yeah. Do you think LinkedIn has that kind of logic built in, or
I mean,
do you think they're thinking it through that much?
Well, have you guys, I just noticed, I don't know if this is brand new, but in the drop downs on the posts, you can give specific feedback on why you don't want to see a certain post now, which I don't recall seeing that before. I think that's fairly new, or I've just been in a hole somewhere. So I think they are trying to judge a bit more on whether or not you want to see what types of content you want to see and why you don't want to see a particular type of content when you don't want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, you can, sometimes when I'm bored or I'm multitasking something, I'll go through my feed and unfollow and follow and follow anyone that is like, I don't know how I wound up following them. Or hit those three dots. I think the thing is that there's always treasures in those three dots. Whenever you see those three dots, it's like, ooh,
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, but I've seen the ability to hide and mute, but I haven't seen that with the options to say, I don't like the topic, I don't like this person, I'm seeing too much of this person. So that level is actually interesting because people have been saying they want that, and it looks like they quietly gave it to us without telling us it's there.
Yeah.
That comes from Facebook. I mean, in Facebook, that feature is ripped right out of there. And I think it's great here I mean, some folks have a lot more time to look at content and all that kind of stuff. And other folks don't. I don't spend so much time analyzing this post and why this and stuff. I mean, gosh, where's the time for that? I guess some folks have it because maybe you focus more on that. But I sure don't have that kind of time.
Well, I get a lot of feedback from people saying they don't want to spend time on LinkedIn because the content in their newsfeed is irrelevant to them, even though it's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely in LinkedIn's best interest to clean it up.
And so that's why I spend a lot of time trying to pay attention to that, to be able to educate them on how they can train their own algorithm so that they can start to see the content they want to see. And that would encourage them to be more active on LinkedIn than they have been.
Yeah, and I think it all goes back to, first thing I ask is, why do you want to be on LinkedIn? Is it to build a network? Is it to become, more visible? Is it to use it for research? What is your purpose? And then formulate a strategy that aligns with that. So like Mike is saying, the content part isn't as important to him as maybe building, and I'm speaking for you, Mike, is building a very, very strong network. Mike is really good with dialing into that exact, network and getting to the yes. Whereas, there might be other people that, it's the content. They really want to be thought of as, that thought leader or that expert in their niche. So I think starting with a strategy, and then from there, it's going to be a different path you're going to take. And if you don't have a strategy, then it's a mishmash, and then you're going to get frustrated with LinkedIn and think that it doesn't work. Right?
I'm dealing with business owners, and they're not on LinkedIn looking for something to do. They're running their business. They're running sales operations. If they get caught looking at articles and another one, I like that, and sharing it, they could lose their job. If you work for Sprint and you're doing that kind of stuff, you're out the door if you're piddling around reading content, and unless it's from a specific customer you're assigned to. That's not considered work in a lot of environments.
You
Yeah.
know, you know what we should do is we should have someone who is an expert at curating corporate content share best practices.
I wonder if that would be somebody
Huh.
from,
Huh.
Can you get
Should we just do it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, who would that be? Would it be like someone from
Hmm.
HubSpot or
Not
some,
me. It's not me.
who's doing it?
I don't know. Somebody with this red swoosh on their shirt.
Oh, yeah, yeah, the guy I'm stalking, you mean? Yeah, he's got great barbecue.
Um,
Come on, Monty,
What-
just do it.
Well, it's
How
Monty's
about-
author. Monty,
God.
look.
Hey, let's put a peer pressure bug in Monty's ear.